Radioactive is the story of Marie Curie, the scientist who made the breakthrough discovery of radium and essentially discovered, basically radioactivity. Pretty big deal, especially since she discovered this with her husband, Pierre Curie. So this film essentially wants to, cover Curie's career and her influence. But a big problem with this film, right from the get-go, I think, is that at least the way that it appears, it seems like there's not a lot of interest in just like the science of Marie Curie, that it feels like this film has to amp it up. Like it has to find like a bigger picture. It has to add in some visual surrealness. It feels like it's trying to amp this story up to be a little more exciting, and I wish I could like the film more for that, because it's a very interesting and important story of what Curie did. But I feel like it's amped up too much, and it also becomes very distracting from her story. To the film's credit, though, Rosamund Pike plays Marie Curie, and I kind of like her in this role. She's got great determination. She has a desperation, but also a concern about being taken seriously, where it feels like she needs help, but she doesn't want to easily accept the help. Like before she meets Pierre Curie, played by Sam Riley, and takes his name to go along with her. She's basically struggling to find the materials that she needs to get the results that she's seeking for discovering radium. Like, she clearly doesn't have the materials to measure out what she's trying to seek, so she needs more material. So essentially, she teams up with Pierre, and Pierre gives her access to their lab. They end up getting a bigger lab in the end. They end up connecting with their love of science and marrying each other. And then, of course, but there's still the concern, though, that Marie feels like she's just kind of, wedded into this, and that some people might feel that she just kind of like married into this to make this big discovery, even though, it was a huge deal for her. And once she makes this discovery of radium, where she kind of basically has to go up to all, these scientific professionals and basically say, look, I've discovered a new element, and I think we might have been wrong with this. It takes a bit of courage and a lot of conviction. And I like the way that Pike plays up this character as someone who's deeply concerned about their influence and if they're taken seriously. Pretty much every scene where she's addressing like these scientific councils and these meetings are pretty damn good. I like those scenes. The problem is that in order to make this like more engrossing, I guess, for like to see the broader appeal of what radium does, the film resorts to these weird tactics. Like, for one, this is probably the most concerning aspect, is that the film will constantly jump out of time to Marie Curie's work and focus on the future of what happens with radiation. So, we'll briefly jump out and we'll see, using radiation to decrease the size of a tumor in a child. Or we will jump ahead to, when the atomic bomb was dropped on Japan. Or we will then jump to the Chernobyl incident, where radiation leaked out of this, of the power plant, and caused a bunch of deaths and a huge disaster. But it's weird because we jump to these different points in time, seemingly with parts that would seem to intersect with the concerns of radium. Like, there's a few times where they deliver, where Pierre is delivering a speech about what will happen with the future of radium and the concerns of it, while we parallel it with I believe they parallel that sequence with dropping the bomb on Japan. And those scenes where they jump out of time there, they don't look as good as when we're ingrained within the era of Marie Curie. It always takes us out of the film. It's like, okay, yeah, I get the fact that radiation eventually led to the whole Chernobyl deal and power plants and medical technology, but if you're just jumping over to it, it's this very jarring effect. There's also these bizarre dreams that Marie Curie has where where she's imagining like the damaging effects of radium, and she also has these weird nightmares of perceiving. Like at one point, they attend this theater that uses kind of these visual light tricks, and these kind of become like the weird color aesthetic for the film, where they show off like like, I mean, of course, there's a green aspect to radiation, but then they show these weird sequences where there's all this green floating around, and we have these very bizarre quick cuts that it feels kind of more like a music video when Marie is very saddened by the death of Pierre, and we're kind of getting these weird flashes that feel very outside of reality. And by the time we get to the end of the film, it gets even weirder, because we essentially, like, the film kind of like bookends with Marie Curie's death. Like, we start off with her old and aged, and then she flashbacks to her life, and then by the time we get to the end of the film, she's at death's door, and she essentially more or less visits all these like future uses of like these future uses that involve radiation, and it creates this very odd, like, surreal tone, which I don't think quite works for the film. I mean, I understand why they're trying to do this. They're trying to give you the bigger picture of just how big an influence Marie Curie is. It's like, it's really trying to stress how important her work was, and how it basically, changed the world in ways that she couldn't have even fathomed. But apparently she can fathom it, because on her deathbed, she apparently visits all these places within her, all these different places in time within her mind. At least that's what the film implies here. So, like, it's weird. Like, I mean, the stuff that focuses on her career is interesting. I feel like it meanders a little bit towards the end, where it feels like she has to take an active role in the war and kind of like use her science more to help people, which is an interesting aspect, but I don't feel like it's fully embraced here. There's a lot of interesting scenes, and it's a very important story. I just feel like it's amped up way too much by getting outside of its element, more or less. Sorry if it's a bad joke. By getting out of its element, I think it loses focus here, and it just seems like it becomes more about the discovery of radiation than about Marie Curie herself. It feels like the film is in a constant battle over the influence of Curie and Curie herself. It always feels like we're getting just like diced up sections, like they're neatly positioned. Like, here's her influence and here's the person, and it feels like they can't really touch that much until the end, when they kind of blend together, and it doesn't quite work. Like, I don't know if that works. Can we pull it back? Can we just have like one film or the other? Do we have to keep having like this bizarre nonlinear format that feels like it's trying to be like a Terrence Malick film at times? So yeah, like, I wish this film could work more, because I really like Rosamund Pike in this role. I think Sam Riley fits really well into this role of Pierre, as this person who wants to be a part of Marie's life, but is kind of like cautious about treading into it as well. Like, he wants to keep it strictly about the science, and is worried that he might be stepping out of bounds. I like these two actors in this role. I feel like it feels like just like the film, of its greater influence, is crowding them out. Like, it doesn't give them as many great scenes as I think we could have got from them in this very interesting story about scientific discovery and tragedy and concerns about the future. I feel like it's like, I don't want to say like it's too blunt, but I want to say like I think it's a bit too broad in how it covers the subject matter, that I feel a little bit gets lost here and there. So I wish I could dig this film more, because like I said, I like Pike, I like Riley. There's some decent direction here and there, and there's an interesting story to tell. It's just told pretty sloppily. So for Radioactive, 2 out of 5 stars.